On this channel before, we have covered the Donald Trump bootlicker, the right-wing MAGA clown, which is Dave Rubin. Multiple times we've covered him on this channel. In this video today, we're going to see him literally try and bend himself into a pretzel to try and defend the United States and this administration's record when it comes to free speech, especially due to the fact that these are people that are lecturing other countries about when it comes to free speech. But not only is he going to bend himself into a pretzel, he's also going to actively lie about when it comes to free speech and people that are from outside the United States. As usual, let's watch this video in full and I'll give you guys my thoughts towards the end.
One person who's strongly sympathetic to President Trump on universities is Dave Rubin, host of the conservative political talk show The Rubin Report. Millions follow him on social media. Mr. Rubin is in Hungary to attend a centre-right conference on free speech. I caught up with him in Budapest earlier and I began by asking Mr. Rubin to outline the Trump administration's concerns about free speech.
The protections that we Americans have around free speech, the First Amendment, of course, of the Bill of Rights of the Constitution, really offer us the most robust protection to say whatever we want, whether it is critical of the government or it is offensive to a group of people or whatever it might be. Now, of course, we have limits to that. You can't point at a specific person and say, to a mob and say, go get him. You can't make a direct death threat, that sort of thing. And then we have very, very tight laws around libel and slander. But beyond that, you can say whatever you want. You can be an anonymous troll on Twitter/X and say mean things. And really, it's up to the person on the receiving end of that to figure out what to do with it, whether they're going to be offended or anything else.
Let me ask you about a very famous case in this country. This is Lucy Connolly, who last year, she tweeted the following after learning that 3 children had been murdered in a knife attack at a Taylor Swift themed dance class in what she wrongly thought was an attack by an immigrant. And this is what she tweeted: "Mass deportation now. Set fire to all the effing hotels full of the bastards for all I care." I should say she rapidly withdrew that tweet. But do you think that there are limits? Do you think it's right that in that case that is crossing a line?
Right. So I think, calling for mass deportations or calling to protect your border or have a sovereign nation or things like that, that absolutely falls within the right of free speech. Calling for specifically the burning down of a hotel where someone might be, and I'm doing this in sort of the vaguest sense because I'm not 100% familiar with the full details of the story that you're laying out there, that could potentially be a little bit more of a direct call for violence, which again, from a United States perspective, if you're directly calling for violence for someone, you would be in trouble. But I want to be as vague as I can be in this specific case. Incitement to violence is basically the line that we have with the First Amendment. Also, keep in mind that, a lot of people conflate free speech and hate speech. You're allowed to say hateful things. I mean, the Supreme Court of the United States decided that there is no such thing as hate speech in effect. You can say really awful things to people, and that's just part of life.
So if you're saying that there is a presumption in favor of free speech, let me take you to the United States and to Massachusetts, which is a student at Tufts University who was lifted off the streets by ICE immigration officials for co-authoring an op-ed that was critical of the state of Israel.
Well, I don't know about that case specifically.
It's a very famous case. It's a very famous case. This is what she wrote. It was Rumesha Ozturk, and in a joint op-ed, she talked about credible accusations against Israel include accounts of deliberate starvation and indiscriminate slaughter of Palestinian civilians and plausible genocide. Highly contentious claims, but not.
Well, they're nonsensical claims. I defend her right to be able to say it as a citizen of the world, but there's a difference between being a citizen of the United States and being here on a green card or on a student visa or anything else. It's not a right to be a citizen of the United States.
Let me just clarify, Dave Rubin, had a US citizen written that op-ed, that's okay, but because it's a student from outside the United States, that's not okay.
Well, yes, our Secretary of State Marco Rubio just testified in front of Congress about this. You do not have all of the rights guaranteed to you by the United States if you are not a United States citizen, as simple as that. If you are going to come here from China or Turkey or Egypt or anywhere else to raise havoc on our streets or to protest or do whatever you want. We can make a decision to decide whether you can stay in this country or not. A regular citizen, a citizen who was born and raised in the United States, who's protesting and wants to say whatever noxious statements she was saying, of course you can say those things.
What about this? This is an article that's been written in the last 48 hours talking about how Israel is committing war crimes, talking about how starving out Gaza, the Israeli authorities are starving out Gaza, and talking about how some of the settlers in the West Bank are doing things that is tantamount to genocide. That was written by Ehud Olmert in Haaretz, the former Israeli Prime Minister. Would he be lifted off the streets by ICE detention officials for writing that?
Well, first off, he's not an American citizen. I mean, he's also...
That's right, he's not an American citizen,
yeah.
So he's the same status as that Turkish student. Is he going to be lifted off the streets of the United States if Ehud Olmert turns up in Massachusetts?
I see the silly little BBC game you're doing here. I get it. So he is entitled to say whatever he wants. He can write whatever he wants in Haaretz, which is a basically unread, crazily far-left newspaper in Israel that only propagandists in the West, like the BBC, use as evidence of something. There is no starvation, there is no genocide, et cetera, but he's welcome to say those things.
But what he has said is pretty similar to what that Turkish student said, and she was lifted off the streets. So Ehud Olmert, also not a US citizen, presumably he would be lifted off the streets if he popped up in the US.
Well, if he was here on vacation and just said something, he'd be allowed to do it. But there's a difference between being here on vacation and being a student visa. Ehud Olmert and anyone, just like you or anyone else, is entitled to say whatever they want. Whether he says that if he's here on a visa, it depends how he would be here in the United States as to whether he would be able to say whatever he wants, right? Like that goes for anyone coming from any country.
Dave Rubin, thank you for talking to Newsnight.
Anytime.
Dave Rubin, what a clown and what a liar. Look, guys, I just did a little bit of research, and I remember actually when this case was going on of the Turkish student being lifted off the streets from ICE and from this administration. I remember hearing about it multiple times. International students in the US have the same First Amendment free speech rights as American citizens. There is no lawful basis to discriminate against them in matters of free speech, regardless of their visa status. But this is once again something that anybody on the right, anyone who is aligned with this administration, this is one of the things that it is that they do. They will make things up and they will act like, remember how he said earlier on in the video, oh, I haven't heard of that particular case. BS. Absolute BS. Of course he's heard of that case. Everybody has heard of that case. That's just the fact. Everybody has. How is it that I live right over here in the UK and I heard of that case, but a political commentator on the right has heard nothing about it, that he has heard about it? All it is that he's doing is he's acting oblivious to it because he knows that it instantly debunks the point that it is that he's trying to make. Dave Rubin is a right-wing grifter, just like a Ben Shapiro, just like a lot of these other right-wing clowns. Guys, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section about this video. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion. As usual, hit that subscribe button if you're brand new to the channel. We always want to hear your guys' opinions, and also turn on the bell notification so that you guys will get an update every single time I upload a brand new video. I appreciate you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.